Yo, what's going on, people? Cooking my food right now. I'm not gonna make this video too long, but I just had a helping of my famous potato soup with hot sauce. Yeah, it's not very healthy, but I gotta work and I need something to give me my boost to just work. I got a little bit of sleep, but I'm gonna make a little post on why I don't support Kyle Rittenhouse anymore. And I have evidence on this channel of me supporting him back in 2021. Well, 2022, 2020, 2020. A lot of this stems from the riots. If you don't know the whole backstory, look it up on Wikipedia. But if you want to hear my summary, there was a black man that was shot by police, Kenosha police, Jacob Blake, and riots, follow after his shooting. And then, some 17-year-old that was a high school dropout decided to stick his nose in shit that had nothing to do with him. He, for one, was not licensed to carry. He was not asked to guard that business. And I don't believe he lived there full time. I think he, alternated from like Illinois to Kenosha. And let me just tell you, because I've been there before, Illinois and Kenosha literally border. Like the Illinois is literally 20 minutes from Kenosha. I used to work at a 7-Eleven there, and it's literally fucking 25 minutes from like the border of Illinois. Chicago's like an hour 30 minutes from Wisconsin, the state. So it ain't relatively far away. So he decided, not because I feel that he cared about the community. I feel this, and like a lot of people like Kyle, they didn't want people from Milwaukee, low income people. I'm not going to use race in this, but they didn't want low income Milwaukee people coming to Kenosha, tearing up the shithole that it already is. Because I've been there before, and it ain't no paradise. But since he lived there, I think his father lived there, he didn't want the community. Well, I don't feel like he cared about the community where he was doing what he was doing, because there was no evidence of him doing that prior. When people come out and guard their community, it's not that they care about the crime, every little crime that goes on there, every little time someone litters or pisses on the floor, pisses on the sidewalk, or they illegally dump trash. It's not that they care about that. It's that they care when people that don't look like them, or they're not, or they're, so someone that's from a different culture comes in and does that to where they live. That's when it only matters. But he decided to come in and guard the community, be a vigilante. And he was chased down by a mob, and they were kicking his ass with his skateboard. And his first reaction, to getting whooped on, was to pull out his gun and kill two people and wound another person. Now, I had a gun before. I probably would never carry a gun, because it's like you have to be prepared with the consequences with having a firearm. I don't feel like I'm conditioned to possibly do jail time or be sued for everything I have or what I don't have. They could take that shit too. But I feel like with a gun should be a last resort. I'm so glad I don't have one, because there's so many situations where I could have pulled out a gun, but I didn't, because I feel like people need to learn how to de-escalate situations, throw hands, defend themselves without a weapon. And we're not talking about a knife. We're talking about a gun, because a gun is a lot more deadly than a knife. You know, because me and my mom were talking about we had this conversation about killers because she was telling me that there are people in her church that have gone to prison for like murder, and I asked her, like, did they do it with their hands? And she said, I don't know, but I'm assuming that they didn't. Because most murders happen with guns. And I'm gonna tell you this right now. Kyle Rittenhouse is a murderer in my eyes, but he's not a killer. He's not a killer. A killer is somebody that I fear. I fear a killer. I don't fear anybody that kills with a gun. With a gun doesn't make you a killer. He's a murderer, but he's not a killer. A killer, what makes you a killer is using knees, using your hands, strangling the motherfucker. You know, we could argue if a knife makes you a killer. I mean, 50% of it does, but at the same time, you have assistance with that blade. You know, it also depends on how the method. Like if you slit somebody's throat, and I'm not trying to get all graphic, but Kyle is not a killer. He's a coward in my eyes. He's a coward that shouldn't have been there in the first place. Because your first line of defense shouldn't just be pull out your gun and shoot. And that's what I feel. He was trying to be a cop. He was volunteering. I think he was doing something with law enforcement when he was like 15. But like I said, he would have been a perfect cop because most cops in my eyes are bitches. Cops only like a cop. This is why a lot of cops find themselves in the situations they do, because they're so quick to pull out a weapon. They don't know how to de-escalate situations. They don't know how to talk things out. They don't know how to throw hands. I understand you want to go home to your family, but if you're such a bitch, why sign up to be a cop in the first place? If you don't know how to talk to people, if you don't know how to interact with others, you really shouldn't be a cop. You know, but I understand most cops they get these bullshit degrees and they find themselves in debt, like college, like student loan debts, and if being a cop can erase a lot of that debt and get grant them a salary with health insurance and dental, I see why you want to be a cop. But I'm just saying his first reaction shouldn't have been pulling out the weapon, and there's a whole case of it wasn't his gun. He shouldn't have been there. Wasn't licensed to carry. No driver's license. He wasn't found guilty of not one of those things I just named. No assault, no aggravated assault, no weapons violation, none of that. Just not guilty, 100%. Walked away. If y'all know this case, Bernie Gotch was a Jewish man from Brooklyn, New York, I believe. He's getting robbed by black people, and one day, he was on the sub. He was waiting for the sub, and he was someone attempted to mug him, and he pulled out a weapon that wasn't licensed. It was an unregistered license, like a ghost gun. He shot four people. He paralyzed one of them, and he was found not guilty of the shooting, but of the weapons violation he was found guilty of and did 19 months. That there is an impartial jury, because in the 80s, New York was tough on crime, was had a crime epidemic going on, and people were tired of fucking thugs and criminals robbing motherfuckers in New York. Like the jury was like, yeah, he's not guilty of defending himself, but he is guilty of the weapons violation. And I feel Kyle should have got that same treatment. Yeah, he's not guilty of defending himself. I mean, he is a bitch ass motherfucker for the first line of defense is pulling out a gun, but he should have been found guilty of at least the weapons violation, because it wasn't his gun. He wasn't licensed to carry, and his ass shouldn't have been in the first place. And I'm about to check on my food, but that's the first part of why I don't support him anymore. And I'm gonna do another part to this.